I'm trying damn hard to turn back time and just forget last night.
What's up, everybody? This is American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett Shear. Today, let's welcome another singer that you didn't see on season 21 of American Idol, Brayden King.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. How you doing?
I'm doing really, really good. Yeah, things have been great.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, because I know we did not get to see you on the show.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 22 years old. I was born and raised in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, Canada. You got to say the province and the country because nobody's gonna know where that is. That's for sure. Yeah, it was a great spot to grow up. I grew up just loving music. I was in piano lessons and was just singing as long as I could talk, and was always trying to start bands when I was younger, and finally got a good band going all throughout high school, and that was kind of my high school thing, was just playing the bars with my 17-year-old band. You know, we were just going out and playing classic rock songs, and yeah, super supportive family. And what else? I moved to Belgium for about a year after I graduated. That was fun. And now I've been living in Alberta, which is a province in Canada. And now I'm a full-time touring artist. I just write and record music, and we play shows pretty much every weekend, me and my band. So yeah, it's a pretty good life. It's the best job I've ever had, that's for sure. So that's a little bit about me.
I'm sure being all over the place and just being able to perform all over the place has been something that's really been cool as an artist. And then obviously I know we're going to hear all about Idol, American Idol, so to not even be in America and then to experience that in a different country, I'm sure was really interesting.
Yeah, totally. It was really, really cool getting to come down to the States and doing something like that. It was so much fun. Actually, I got reached out to by producers for season 20
Okay.
of American Idol, and I went through the full I'm sure you've heard many times about like the virtual auditions and everything. So I did that for season 20, and then at the end of like them basically saying that they wanted me to come down to Nashville on an audition, they were like, "Where are you from again?" And I was like, "Canada." Like I said, Canada, and they're like, "Oh, that might be a bit of an issue." And sure enough, it was, because when you're from Canada, you need a work visa in order to go down and do the full thing. So basically, we gave up on it for season 20, but then season 21 rolled around, and we kind of caught it a lot earlier this time, and yeah, went and did the full thing. So that was kind of cool.
Canada's Got Talent is huge. They just brought it back, and
Yeah.
obviously Canadian Idol. I'm 22 as well, so we were both really little when that was around and it went away.
Right.
But have you ever done any other competition, even if they weren't televised, anything like this before?
No, nothing ever like this before. So it was just like such a weird change, to be a part of something like this. It's so cool, for sure. It was a giant shock getting into just television in general.
I think the interesting thing about American Idol is that it really is, in my opinion, a very natural place for artists to go now with the way that they, appreciate original music and the kinds of people that you meet. It's like you go there and the other contestants are just like you, and you feel like, oh my gosh, these are my people. But then you're in this environment that's like, whoa, it's TV, there's cameras, they're telling us to do things that we would never be told to do as performers, because normally we're at our gigs and it's just like sing. Now they're like,
Yeah.
we need to get B-roll, so we want you to look out that window and look scared. And when you go in there, you're going to do this. So it's like,
Yeah.
like a weird kind of combination, right?
Oh man, yeah, it's like, okay, just act pensive. And I'm like, what? Like, or they're like, I really like how you just had that conversation, but could you just word it slightly different this time? And I'm like, wow, I had no idea growing up watching the show that like you learn to find out how it comes together, like very quickly. You learn what's going on very quickly, and you learn very quickly that it is not what is on TV. I was shocked with how much they filmed us, And I came with my dad, and my dad's like, yeah, they probably got like 2-3 hours of footage. And even if they did show me, it's like they could have just chosen to show 5 seconds of that. It's like they choose what they want to show, and that's reality TV right there.
I was on Instagram Live last night. I was watching Oliver Steele and Aiden Boyd. I don't know if you had a chance to meet those guys,
Oh
see them at
yeah,
all
yeah.
on TV. A guy commented and he said, Oliver, I edited your audition. So I guess he's an editor at American Idol.
Wow. Oh, that's very cool.
I can't imagine what those guys do sitting in there thinking, like, or I'm sure they have the notes from producers saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. But to be able to sit through and see the footage, I would love to have that job, honestly. I think I would love to include a little more footage of everybody, to really give all of you a chance to shine. But man, how many hours goes on the cutting room floor? I am so curious.
Oh man, I would say an average of 2 hours per contestant. Like 1 to 2 hours. I don't know. But like there's so many interviews and so many things, and like confessional and the background interview and the B-roll interview and everything. And it's just like it's mind blowing, man. Like I it flew by too. It's just crazy.
Because even the air contestants that they say, I wish they would have shown this and that, because it's obviously piecing together a story, but it must be trippy to watch something and be like, wait, this was for me a big part of it, but then it didn't get shown. You watch a show and then you're a part of it and you're like, this is how it works.
100%, I can attest to that because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes and stuff, but I feel like part of the reason why I didn't get aired was because I didn't play into their narrative that they wanted me to have. I lost my mom in July.
So
To
sorry.
thanks, man. Like to pancreatic cancer, and it was just like we lost her in July, and I was auditioning in Vegas in September, and like that's not a lot of time, Like
No.
I'm still processing, and at the time of my audition, I was really just like numb to every emotion, and like I had trouble giving any sort of emotional reaction to anything because of it being so fresh, and also my biggest fear being that this audition is about my mom passing away. It's not about me as a singer, and that was my biggest fear. So like I didn't there were points in like the interviews and stuff I was like, okay, that's enough. Like I'm good. Like I don't want to continue with this exact topic, like because for me personally, they got kind of aggressive with the questions about it, and like I could just tell that they wanted to get an emotional reaction, which I understand why. But when I'm clearly not having it, it was kind of a tough battle. So yeah, they definitely they need a narrative. Everybody needs a story, and it makes sense.
Mm.
But the way that they get those stories sometimes is maybe not fair or what you expected.
But mad respect, bro, for going in there and saying, "Hey, this is enough right now," because
Yeah.
you could have said, "I want to be on TV. I'm gonna give them what they want," and you stood up for what you believed in and what you felt was right and what you needed for your mental
Yeah.
health.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. And like I can't remember who it was or which producer or whatever, but like there was something that you've seen the 360 or the 180
Yeah, with the
camera.
huge screen.
Yeah. So after I did my audition, after I got 3 yeses, I was thrown into like a confessional interview, and it was immediately like I was trying to process everything that just happened, and immediately they're like, what would your mom say if she was here, and all this, and I'm like, oh man, do we really, we just did this an hour ago, like can we, right? So that was really tough, and then they took me to that 180 thing, and they said, okay, Brayden, we're going to show you the video of, so basically when I did my virtual audition, um they told me that they wanted me to come audition for the Celebrity Judges, and they were like, "Do you want to call your mom and let her know?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure, for sure." So like, called my mom and like turned the phone to the Zoom camera, and it was like the producers told my mom that I was gonna go audition, and she just like had this huge pride and everything like that, and it was really really special. And they basically said, okay, we're gonna take you in here, and they told me that's what they were gonna show me. And immediately when they told me that, like, it was just a weird emotional feeling, and I had this uneasiness about me, and I just kind of got really quiet and stuff. And one producer came up to me and said, "Hey Brayden, if you want to see the video and you don't want us to film it, just tell me that and we'll do that."
Hmm.
And to this day, I remember that producer having like a it was just a very human connection. You know, it was like, we don't care about they didn't care about the content anymore. It was like, I care about this guy's emotions. And that's what we did. I went in, watched the video with my dad, had a good cry, and and it was really really special. And maybe had I let them film that, they would have put me on TV, you know? But like when I think about that, I'm like, that's not the reason why I want to be on TV. Or if I even want to be on TV at all. I'm a musician. I want to be recognized for my singing and do it because I love it and because I want to make my mom proud, not because my mom died and we're going to just exploit that, you know? And truth be told, there were a lot of really really nice producers that like you could tell that there was a lot of like empathy and care. But there was like one or two that really just like, they didn't care. They cared about the footage, which I get it. It's a TV show. They need to get their footage. But yeah.
I'm happy for you that you walked away from the show knowing that you did everything you did so authentically, right? Because I imagine, I haven't even asked you how far you've gotten, but I imagine that you left the show with that same sense of satisfaction, being like, I did this as myself, because you did not give them what they wanted. And it's not a thing about drama. It's just, it's being who you are and being yourself, and that's what matters, man. It's like, it is the TV show, but it's about the music and it's about you. And this whole thing that they wanted to make up this story, that does not define you, you know? This is your life we're talking about.
Totally, man. Yeah, I appreciate you. And yeah, it's but it's a show, right? And you see that most of everybody has some sort of emotionally triggering story. And it's very great that like I met everybody on the show, and like they're such great people, and everybody that was aired deserved every minute of being aired, and I was so stoked for everybody. And to see other people's stories was like, wow, I'm not alone in having a hard life.
Right.
You know, everybody's got their own stuff going on, and yeah.
I want to hear about the performances. The first one being in front of the judges, your audition. So tell me about that.
Yeah, going into the room, I remember being so not nervous. I was just excited. I was like so ready to just get it done. And I got in there, and like it looks exactly like it looks on TV. Like it's actually it's so nuts, but the only difference is there's like 40 people filming. Like there's like 40 other people in the room. I didn't count them all, but like it's not just you and judges. Like it can't be, right? So yeah, we talked for like a while, just telling them from where I'm from. Like Luke was like asking me if I like to hunt just due to where I'm from and everything. And like, so we just talked for a while. And then I sang an original song called Down That Road. My voice got really dry when I was doing it, and I sang with a lot more rasp than I intended to. And I did my full song, and I was pretty proud with what I did. And they just kind of like, they didn't standing ovation or anything. They just kind of slow clapped, and they were like, yeah, that's cool. And then Luke's like, yeah, it's kind of like a song like Ed Sheeran and Chris Stapleton. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. And then Katie's like, do you know any Ed Sheeran? And I was like, yeah, I guess. This was not prepared at all, like not at all. And I sang, I probably hadn't sang the song in 3-4 years, and just started playing Give Me Love by Ed Sheeran. After I was done that, they like kind of critiqued my rasp for a little bit. They were like saying, oh, you're going to hurt your voice and everything like that. And I didn't want to fight back and say that I was like trained, and I kind of like, I understand what they're saying. Rasp is never the most healthy thing in the world, but like there's certain ways to do it. But basically they were like, can you try and sing without your rasp? And I was like, yeah. So I sang without the rasp, and they were like, okay, that's really good. Like you have control over it. It sounds good. I remember there were a couple moments in there where I was like singing the Give Me Love song for like the second time, where like they told me to do it again with no rasp. I was like, oh, I'm not making it through. I felt defeat. They all kind of went quiet, and then Lionel's like, you know what? I want to join the fan club. I really like what you do. And then Katie was like, you have all the right tools. You just need to like refine them to like use them in the best ways for the best songs. And then Luke pretty much said the same thing. He's like, yeah, you have a great voice, and it seems like you have all the right things to do this. And then Lionel's like, I want to give you a yes. And then Katie said, is your dad here? Of course, right? And here's the thing my dad told me. They were putting a mic on my dad the minute I walked into that room. They knew he was coming in, right? So my dad walks in, and they're like, what's your wife's name? And he's like, Lana. Basically, like, they were like, well, Lionel just gave your son a yes. Katie's like, I don't want to give your son a yes. And then I there had to have been a lot more conversation that happened, but like it's such a blur. We're trying to remember that because it's like a blackout doing that audition. But then Luke gave me a yes, and they did the whole, you're going to Hollywood. And then I went to pull my, they showed me where the golden ticket was, and I don't know if anybody else did this. I tried to pull it straight out. I didn't realize you had to slide it out. So I got really embarrassed. But then walked on out, and yeah, 3 yeses on the audition. And then pretty much after that, it was like a couple more interviews, and then I was done for the day. And then got to go hang out with my friends in Vegas.
Which is probably sick, by the way, just be in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, it was cool. It was really cool. Yeah. I auditioned with Trey Lewis, and me and Trey, like, oh man, we're just the best buds, man. And then there's another guy who I think you should talk to, who made it as far as me, named Caden Glover. And Caden is so incredible, like so cool. And then there was Colt Glover, that was also in Vegas with us. Who else? Michael Williams, Aiden Boyer was in there. The other Luke Bryan, I hung out with him a bit. So yeah, got some friends going, and that was really cool. And then next thing you know, like, we're all going to Hollywood, man. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, that was in September, and then December, it's like we're flying to Hollywood. I forgot my passport. So they actually had to, I called one of the production assistants. I was like, hey, like, this is what happened. And they're like, oh, Brayden, you idiot. Like, but it was just like a wrist slap, you know? They were like, we'll just book you another flight. I was like, okay, yeah. So I actually thought I wasn't going to be going for a second, but it worked out. We get there, and there's like 160 of us, I think. Something like that. And the whole first day, we had to kind of split into the 3 different categories for the performance challenge is what it was called. And you could focus on songwriting, stage presence, or confidence. And I chose songwriting. So I get put together with all the songwriters, and I went and got mentored by Philip Phillips. I was going to sing an original for the first round of Hollywood Week, and I showed it to him. And all he said to me was, he's like, you know what? Like, that's a verse and a chorus. Like, do you have a second verse and a chorus? I was like, yeah. And he's like, all I can say to you is I want to hear the rest of it. Like, for me personally, I didn't want to take up too much time on stage. I didn't want to bore people, you know? And he's like, no, play the full song. You need to play the full song. And I was like, okay, cool. Getting told that by Philip was cool. Then, like, they brought us all out onto the pool deck, and it was like Philip and what's that girl's? Is it Katie?
Oh, Katie Turner?
Yeah. So they were the songwriting mentors, and they like gave us all a little pep talk. We had to film that like 4 times. It was hilarious. But yeah, it was great. And then we hop on a Zoom call that night, and they're like, okay, this is who's performing tomorrow. This is who's performing the next day. And like, it just shows you your line. It's like lines 1 through 19, and there's like 8 to 10 people in each line, you know? And so like, I think lines 1 to 10 were performing on the Monday, and lines 11 through 19 were performing on the Tuesday. And I was in line like 16 or something like that.
So Tuesday or still Monday?
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. It was late. It was really late. We had to go to the theater on the Monday morning and watch everybody perform. That's literally all Monday was, like, because I was performing the next day. It was pretty crazy to see how quickly they cut people. The only friend that I lost in the first round, or there was a couple, yeah. Jaden Tremmel was a really, really great country singer. Dylan Holmes. Josh, I can't remember Josh's last name, but he was there. And then Colt. We lost Colt, and it was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, because we had all heard his voice, and we're like, this guy's incredible. This guy's top 10. Even Katie said he was top 10.
That's what she said in his audition.
Right? So for him to get cut in the first round was like heartbreaking for all of us. It was like really, really tough. But life had to keep going on, right? And around this time, I would have started to meet some of my other friends. So Beckett McDowell, a really good friend of mine. Philip Kane. I actually just got back from Nashville. I was hanging out with Phil.
Oh, love him.
Yeah, so good. And same with Preston Duffy. I was just in Nashville with him too, like last week. So that was cool. So yeah, we all got to be really close and really good friends. My performance day came around, and also like we're hanging out in the hotel every night. We're having some fun. Like it was just great times. Like honestly, looking back on American Idol, my favorite times were in the hotel with those boys. All of us just hanging out with our guitars, singing songs, no pressure. That was the best. And no one can ever take that away from me, that I had those great times with those great people. So my performance day came around, and I walked out on stage, and this is by far the most nervous I've ever been for any performance in my entire life. 100%. So much nerves. And I get out there, and I basically said, hi, I'm Brayden King. I'm a friendly giant from the prairies of Saskatchewan. I chose to work on songwriting. And then I was like, I'm going to sing you guys a song called Front Row. And it's a song that I wrote for my mom about how she's always believed in me to like chase my career, and was always like my biggest fan, and always sang along and danced along. And it's just a real dedication to her. I remember singing the full song and going through it. And like while I was singing, the entire room was silent. Like sometimes people are cheering and stuff like that. It was so silent. And then I finished playing, and then there was like silence. And then all 3 judges stood up clapping. And then everybody, all my friends in the crowd stood up clapping. And it was like it was just crazy. It was so crazy. and I like immediately broke down just crying. I had just poured so much emotion into the song that like as soon as I got that response, it was just overwhelming is the best way that I can put it. I'm the kind of person that like I wear my heart on my sleeve, but it's very rare that I will have an emotional outburst like that, like to be crying. Like I truthfully I have a hard time crying. Like it's a weird thing being in touch with my emotions, and like that was just one of the moments where something overcame me, and like it just felt like, you know what, everything's okay now. It's like it was just that release that I needed. And sure enough, as soon as I get off stage, there's a camera in my face and they're filming me crying, and like it's whatever. And then as soon as I was able to leave and like go into the waiting spot for getting my line judged, Trey Lewis is like standing there, and I'm still crying a little bit, and he's like, he just comes and gives me the biggest old Trey Lewis hug, and he's like, man, I know you've been holding on to that, man. Like that was beautiful. And like even if I would have went home at that exact moment, everything was okay. Then they called my line out, and they told, I believe, 4 of us to step forward. And Katie said, I will say that, like, I don't think that I was, like, one of the strongest singers there. I don't know. Like, people were doing some crazy stuff. I feel like I'm just a bit more of a simplistic, high-energy guy. Anyways, Katie called us all forward, and then one of the, Emma Bussey was in my line, and Katie said, Emma, you are incredible. And then she said, the rest of you guys... we love artists on this show, but we need you to sing songs that showcase your best vocal ability. So I immediately took that to heart, and I was like, well, they liked the song, but I didn't show off it enough. But they were like, front row, you're going through. So like I made it through. And I was like, hell yeah, cool. And then immediately after, they're like, I had like two hours break, and it was like 10:30 p.m. or 11 p.m. And the judges are like, have fun. And we're like, with what? And they're like, you get to pick your duet partners at 11 p.m. And we're like, oh, cool. We're all scrambling to find partners. All my friends have already paired up with people so quickly. And I don't know who to go to, but have you seen any of the clips of like the girl that's riding that wheel, the
Oh, is her name
hoverboard
Eliana Rogers?
Eliana Rogers, yeah. So like I didn't even see her Hollywood Week performance, but I just thought she had like the dopest rocker look, and I was like, you
Yeah.
look so cool. Like, do you want to sing together? And she was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, let's do it. And then we had to go pick a song, and we picked I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner. We rehearsed for a good chunk of hours, and then around like 4 a.m, finally got to sleep, and then wake up at 6:30 again. Like they really want to test who can operate under pressure,
Yes.
which is I understand. Yeah, I understand for sure. We wake up, and I think both her and I went through like so many emotional changes throughout the day, because I think we got to the theater at like 10 in the morning and performances started. We didn't perform till like 9 p.m. On 2 hours of sleep. So like we went from being excited to scared to tired to confident to not confident to everything. And her and I would like retreat to the roof and like go practice on the roof of the theater. And like we finally got it to the point where it was like, okay, we've rehearsed this enough to like be able to do what we're going to do to the best of our ability. Let's just do it. And finally our turn comes around, and we had like not a dance, but like some staging stuff. Like we started back to back, and then we walked away from each other for a while, and then we finally locked eyes, and then we inched in closer and closer and closer, and then we ended up like close and like singing to each other. I Want to Know What Love Is, right? It's a love song, and the whole thing was like really beautifully harmonized throughout the entire song. I remember I hit a note. It was like a high note. All my boys in the crowd like jumped and cheered for that note. And it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I got this confidence from my boys, and then everybody's clapping at the end, and like I look at Eliana, I was like, we did it, like, and at that moment I thought we were both going through. I really thought we were both going through. And then Luke is like, guys, that might be the best version of that song we've ever heard. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they're like, Brayden, we told you to step it up. You stepped it up. You see how your boys reacted to that? Like, that's what we want to see. We want to see that firepower. Luke said, I want to hear you sing more rock songs, like some Bryan Adams or something like that. And, oh yeah. And then this happened. Luke was like, sing some Bryan Adams. And I was like, who? And he's like, boy, you really don't know who Bryan Adams is? And I was like, Luke, you really don't know when I'm messing with you? Oh. And like, it was so funny, man. Everyone was laughing. It was great. And then they were like, Brayden, you're going to go through to the next round. Eliana, they basically said she did nothing but good things, but it's just a stiff competition. And they let go of her. And then we had a couple down days, like just some downtime after that. We celebrated after that, we had a hotel room party and it was fun. And like, and then just like the next couple days were like rehearsal for Showstopper with the band leaders. I picked a song called No Good by Kaleo. And it's like a heavy, heavy rock song. And I just wanted to I'm like, man, I'm going to go put on a showstopper performance. If that's what they want, I'm going to go do it. High energy, rock and roll. It doesn't even matter about the vocals anymore. It's just about putting on a high energy performance and giving it everything. Because I don't want this to be my last performance and say that like I didn't give it my all. So come up with that song, and the week kind of goes by, and we're filming B-roll one day, and I got a call from my girlfriend back in Canada, Alyssa, and she had like kind of said, I was like, are you sure you can't come for Showstopper? Because like they were allowing us to bring a guest. And she was like, no, I can't. Like, I can't miss school, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I had accepted it. I was like, okay, she can't come. It's okay. She can't come. And then her mom and dad convinced her to come. So she got in. She got in on Saturday morning. And then Showstopper performances were Sunday all day. And then she left early Monday morning. Like the quickest trip ever. But she got to see that Showstopper performance, and it was like so cool. I went out, I gave it everything I had. I was screaming, man. I was rocking. And I remember walking off stage, and like the judges are in that upper balcony thing, and they're all giving me the devil horns. I'm like, yeah, man. And I walked away so happy. I was like, you know what? I did everything I wanted to do, and I am content. And then they took us to that place in is it Malibu? Yeah, Malibu. They took us there, and like the first full day in Malibu was literally like we are all sitting in the bus and just waiting and getting called out for interviews and stuff. And I did nothing that full day besides screw around with the boys. Like we had a football, we were throwing it around and just having a blast, man. And then finally, at the very end of that day, I went and did an interview really quick. The next day was Final Judgment Day, which is so every single way that they put it, it just sounds like you're gonna die. It's like Final Judgment, Green Mile, all these things. And I'm like, none of this sounds good. But like, so they set us in this barn, and there's 55 of us at this point. And they call us out one by one to like go into the judge's room to get told whether or not we're going to go through. I wait for like a really long time. I remember watching Phil. He comes back and he's like, no, I didn't make it. And Michael comes back. He's like, yeah, I made it. And I was like, hell yeah, Michael. Yeah, baby. And it was like a lot of that, And then Ryan Seacrest says, Brayden and Caden. And I'm like, what? Like they had only called one pair prior to that. And I was like, did you just say that, Ryan? He's like, yeah, Brayden and Caden. So me and my best buddy, Caden Glover, we go sit in this chair and Ryan Seacrest is between us. He's like, so boys, why do you think the judges want to see you together? I was like, I don't know. We're both tall and our names rhyme. Like, I don't freaking know. So sure enough, we finally walk in to the judges and sit down, and they're all smiling and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what that was. Ignore it. They're all smiling and stuff. They're like, you guys got to make some really good friends here, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, like we're best buds, all this stuff. And like, it's all positive, you know? And they're like, well, we noticed that, and we just love the camaraderie. We love you guys, and like, you guys are both great singers. Katie said, why did you guys drop your guitars? Because neither of us performed with a guitar for the showstopper. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just wanted to show that I could do other things. And Caden basically said the same thing. And then it basically came down to Luke was like, Caden, you shouldn't have dropped your guitar. Brayden, you sang too loud. We love you boys, but it's the end of the line. And we're like, okay, yeah, no worry. Like, honestly, I was not heartbroken at all. I was like, you know what? This is fine. Shook Luke Bryan's hand, gave Katy Perry a hug, gave Lionel Richie a hug. And I'm like, yeah, we're just going to go tour Canada, boys. And they're like, yeah, book that Canadian tour. Go have fun. And like, that's literally what I do for a living. So like, we're having fun. It's good. And then I remember we like had to walk in and like tell everybody that we didn't make it, and like saying goodbye to like Trey and Colin. Oh, Colin. I forgot about Colin. Colin's a good friend of ours too. Say goodbye to everyone was a little weird. But then like going into like that final interview, I was like, I'm not going to sit here and be sad. I'm not going to sit here and dwell. She's like, are you sad? I'm like, no. I'm like, I got my boys, man. Like, I got my friends. Like, by the way, one of the main guys, Patrick, he's been there for years. He named our group of friends the Talladega Boys. It was because Caden and Phil did their duet together, and you had to have a name for your group, and they were Shake and Bake. And that's it's a reference from the movie Talladega Boys. Talladega Nights. So we were called the Talladega Boys. And I was like, nah, we got the Talladega Boys. I'm not sad. And I'm like, I was just trying to wrap up the interview. I was like, I'm good, man. I'm fine. Like, yeah. Thank you for everything, guys. Like, it's all good. And like, got a shuttle back to the hotel. Traffic in Los Angeles, man, just crazy. It took us like 40 minutes to get there in the morning. We're driving back at 5:30 p.m. It took us over 2 hours. And I'm like, this is not fun. Anyways, we got back to the hotel. I had one last great night with my friends. Got to congratulate the guys that made it, like Colin and Michael. Man, that's like the full story. That was like everything. And yeah, it was a blast looking back on it. Me and the boys, we have a group chat. We talk every day. Like, we talk every day. It's awesome. I'm so thankful to have those people in my life. And I can't wait to see what the rest of them do with their careers, because everybody's just killing it now. I'm really thankful for the opportunity. Obviously, it's a bit disheartening to have made it that far in the show and not be shown, but I get it, you know, and I accept it. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on it. I'm just going to keep pushing in my career, and I'm thankful to be able to tell the story. And like, it's funny, they told us right after Hollywood Week, they said, you guys can post, hey, I've auditioned for American Idol. Tune in on February 19th to see how my audition went. And I said to myself, I was like, I do not want to be put into a position where I make that announcement because I'm just too excited. I can't hold in the information. I post that, and then I'm not aired on February 19th, and then I'm not aired at all. How's that explanation go? Like, everyone's like, what the heck? I thought you were going to be on the show. And like, I didn't want to be answering all those messages. And like, close friends and family know, but vast majority of people, I have not told anyone. Because I didn't want to get anyone's expectations too high.
Right.
Truthfully, right? That was the biggest thing, especially because I'm not just a guy that likes to sing. This is my job. This is my career. And I not only have like friends and family, but I have like a small fan base. And I didn't want to feel like I was in a position where I was letting anybody down. So now it's just like I get to post positive things. It's like, I did this. Here's my selfie with Luke Bryan and Lionel Richie, like all this stuff. And then to be able to tell people I made the top 55, it's like, I think that's pretty darn cool. Even if they'd never show me at all, I have the proof that it happened. I have the friends to last me a lifetime. So,
And that might be the most important thing that you walked away with.
100%. 110%, man. Like, to go stay an extra couple days in Nashville and hang out with Phil and Preston. We're sitting there writing songs, and like, Phil's one of the best songwriters I've ever met. I can't wait to go down to Texas and visit Trey, and go to West Virginia and visit Caden, and like see all the boys, you know? It's all good. Yeah, I'm really thankful.
It's fantastic. You know why? Because you have nothing to lose doing a show like this. I mean, if anything, as we just said, all you really had were gains, and you got the most out of it. You're looking at the positives, because I know that there were some things that were uncomfortable about it, and you were honest about that. But at the end of it, the moral of the story is you left with something you didn't have before. You got your boys. That's what matters, right?
Exactly. And like, yeah, I couldn't be more thankful for that. So it's taken a bit of some time to process that I won't be aired, you know, and it hit hard for a little while, and then I was like, you know what, life goes on. I did, like you just said, I didn't lose anything. I only gained. So I'm very lucky for that, and yeah, I'm not slowing down anytime soon. I just outside of Idol, like I just put out a brand new single, and we're releasing a new song every 8 weeks for like the next 2 years. So I'm just releasing music like a madman and touring like crazy. I just started working with a really cool booking agent. Like, I'm playing a show every weekend, and I'm going into some bigger places, which is so fun. And like, I have the best band in the world. Things are looking so up, man, and I'm just so excited to keep going on this career. Idol, the way my dad put it as, Idol was like a job interview and you just didn't get the job. And I'm like, you know what? That's a great way to put it, man. You make me feel a lot better.
Well, but you learn something from everything, and not just gaining the friendships, but every element from what, I don't know if you'd ever do another show again, or even if it's just going on TV to promote your music. Now you see what it's like, and so you walk into that, and you know what? If you don't do another singing competition, you'll probably never do something as intense and crazy and trippy as reality TV again, unless you go on, CGT or The Voice or whatever. But like, now if you just go on a show to promote your music, you're like, oh, this is a cakewalk, because I had to go and do this interview where they wanted to know everything about my personal life. Now I just got to go and talk about my music. All right, cool. 10 minutes in and out,
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's like, there's no way I'd do it.
Yeah. Let's just be real,
America's Got Talent, Canada's Got Talent, The Voice. They've been reaching out to some of my friends, and I'm like, you know what? I might hear something, but like, I will respectfully decline.
Yeah.
Reality TV is not for me. Because I don't like feeling inauthentic ever. And I don't like being put into a position where I don't have control of the narrative. You know? When I have my own social platforms and my website and my shows, I'm in control of what is said and what is shown and what I want to be portrayed. But for some people that got aired on TV, like, they have that 2 hours of footage, but they show the narrative that they want to be shown. And for some people, it really worked out, and that's great. But for some people, they were pretty disappointed in what was shown, and felt like their lives and who they are wasn't portrayed at all as how they are. If I'm going to gain a giant fan base, I don't want them to be my fan for any reason besides they like me. Not what American Idol made me out to be.
You're in an industry where the connections that you make from going just to film a show like that is possibly much more valuable than whatever audience you would have from the airtime or the votes or whatever, because you already have the fan base. It's up to you to establish that fan base. You could go on and win the thing, dude. It would still be up to you to establish that fan base.
Oh yeah.
Just like every other contestant, you have to work after you go, again, you win the show. I mean, back in the day, they had a summer tour you could do, but it was represented by Idol. So you could have the show having your back for the year, then you're with their label, and then you might get dropped by that label. It is always up to the artist to figure things out for themselves. You've already had this head start. You've got your whole thing figured out for the next 2 years, which is incredible. And then you have this additional network from going and filming the show and learning the things along the way, and then having the support of the friends that you made. I mean, it's remarkable. It really is.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at right now, and like Idol was just it was a great time, honestly. It was exhausting. That's one of the biggest words I can use to describe it. Like, I've never had to wake up that early. That's another thing, man. Me and the boys, we just finished 3 days on the road, and we slept in till 11 or 12 every day, and I'm still exhausted because it's so grueling to be on the road for 3 days. Except like nothing compared to the exhaustion from Idol, man. It's just, I can't do TV, man. I was made for the music business, not the TV business. I tell you that for sure.
But you know what I love is when you were telling me about how you just had fun at the hotel every night. It's like I get such a sense of calmness from you at the same time, where it's like you were there to do your thing, but you also were just enjoying the ride. And also, even when you didn't make it at the end, you're like, yeah, I'm just grateful. I had fun. I enjoyed it. And so many people say, I wish that I could do that after the fact. It's like you had no regrets.
Totally. And I think the reason that we had so much fun together, me and the guys, is like we treated every day like it was our last. Because for some of them it was.
Yeah.
Like it was like for Colt and Jaden and Josh leaving on like the first day, it was like, whoa. We were just hanging out in a hotel room last night, and now you guys are gone. We barely got to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow. I don't want to. Let's just have fun every second we can. And actually, it was so funny. We weren't supposed to leave the hotel one day, and Beckett had some contacts at a place called Norman's Rare Guitars, which is the most famous guitar shop in the world. It's crazy. And they film social media content for artists that come in. So Beckett grabbed Caden and I. It's actually pretty ironic that we were three of the guys from our friend group that just did not get aired. It's pretty funny. But we hopped in a Tesla Uber, and we went like an hour away from the hotel. We were not supposed to be gone. And as soon as we got to the guitar shop, I got a call from a production assistant. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. How are you? And he's like, I'm good. And he just had like 5 minutes of questions for me. Like, he didn't care where I was. I didn't tell them where I was. But yeah, we went out and we got to play like all these crazy, rare, expensive, vintage guitars. And we had the best day, man. It was like so cool. And it was like, you know what? Sure, we're here for a show, but like, I don't care if we got to risk a little something to go have some fun. That was the best day. That was so cool. And like, just to have those experiences and those memories, it's kind of cool to get to chat with you and just kind of go down memory lane, because I'm no longer under a contract. And I'm like, okay, I feel so free to like just talk about everything behind the scenes, the good, the bad. And like, yeah, this is a great outlet for it. And thank you so much for doing what you do and giving people like myself that were on the show but never got shown. You just kind of give us a voice and a chance to tell our story, not the American Idol story, So, yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate you. I mean, all you guys, you can say what you want about how it works and what it's like to film a TV show. But the one thing you can't deny is the talent that the show manages to pull in and how gifted you all are. It's just an honor to be able to meet all of you.
Man, thank you so much. And likewise, I just really, really appreciate what you do, man. Thank you.
Hey, before I let you go, anything that you want to promote? I mean, I'm so happy and blown away by all the things that are already in store for you, but anything that you want to plug or tell us about as you embark on this journey continuously?
Yeah, man. My new single, Living the Dream, just came out on March 24th, and I got another single coming out in May, and it's just going to keep on rolling new music. If you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok or any of that stuff, Brayden King Music across all the platforms. We're not touring the States quite yet, but if you are in Canada, we are hitting basically every major Canadian city this year from Toronto to Vancouver. So it's a busy year on the road, and I could not be more excited. So I sure hope we get some folks out to the shows. It's going to be fun, man.
You know, we're actually going to play one of your acoustic songs right now. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, man. This is Living the Dream. I recorded it almost like 10 months ago, the acoustic version, so my hair is a lot different. I don't look the same. But like, we just put the song out, so I'm like, I want to release this video because it's so well done. And yeah. So yeah, here's the acoustic video for Living the Dream. Dude, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Oh man, I say I'm really living the dream. Roll myself out of bed. Where the hell's my phone? Made a few drunken calls, but still slept alone. Why do I do the things I do and say the things I say? Water to fix my head, coffee to shake me up. Forget the things I did when I was so messed up. I'm overthinking, head is shrinking when I hit replay. Now I'm trying damn hard to turn back time and just forget last night. 'Cause I spent all my money on the things that I don't need. It's in my wallet since I threw it out last week. All the time, but somehow I just can't sleep. Oh man, I say I'm really living the dream. I say I'm really living the dream. Flashbacks and buying drinks for girls that just don't care. Cold shoulders got me feeling chills in the August day. The bar is spinning, drinks are spilling, and I'm out the door. Now I'm standing on the street, drunk and alone, and I got no way back home. 'Cause I spent all my money on the things that I don't need. It's in my wallet since I threw it out last week. All the time, but somehow I just can't sleep. Oh man, I say I'm really living the dream. You know I got my reasons, don't really know how I'm feeling. Maybe I'm going off the deep end every single weekend. I'm living the dream. Cause I spend all my money on the things that I don't need. It's in my wallet since I threw it out last week. All the time, but somehow I just can't sleep. Oh man, I say I'm really living the dream. You know I got my